Okay, tell me about your involvement. How did you get involved with Tea Parties or any other political involvement you may have had?
Yeah, last year, over the last number of years, we've become very concerned about what's going on in the country. I think a lot of people have, and got to the point where I told my wife, I said, we've been married almost 12 years, have 4 young children, and been very much raising that family and involved in the career. But we just finally came to the point where if we don't get involved and do something today, then we're not going to have the country that we love and grew up in to pass to our children. And so when I got an email or something in January, February last year with Rick Santelli and his famous Tea Party rant, and I said, you know what, that's a movement I could get behind, because that speaks to me, that we just have to be responsible. Stop spending, stop taxing us. Let us use the individual, the creative spirit that has made America great. And so I got involved in the Tea Party movement, and then what led to running for Congress is I went to a town meeting that our congressman put on. And I had never been to a meeting like this before, and I went and I was just immediately disappointed and disgusted at the arrogance and the condescension that he showed to his constituents, and really treated people like, I'm the Lord Messiah. And it was so wrong, because he was representing the government to the people instead of the people to the government. It's just completely backwards. But I had an exchange with him on an issue that had an argument. At the end of that argument, people gave me a standing ovation, and his response to me was, "This is my town meeting, not yours." And I walked away from that meeting with a number of people saying, "Joe, you really should run for Congress and run against this guy. You can do it." And so, I said, well, that's a huge step. I'm running a business, I've got a business I'm starting. I'm working for the company I work for, and after some time, thought and prayer, and talking with my wife, said, you know what, we need to do this. It's how America is going to change, and change in the right way. And so that's how we got involved, and now I've been endorsed by the 2 largest Tea Parties in our district, and we just have a tremendous grassroots organization that's just out getting it done.
Hey, let me ask you about healthcare. This is an issue that's on everybody's mind. People are still furious about it.
Yeah.
Obama never sold it to the nation. He's
Bait
I don't know what he's doing.
Bait and switch, and then switch again, and then switch again, and then bait, and then switch.
Right, and I don't think there's a lot of people that are well repeal or replace, or what's your plan? What would you support?
Well, I think the first step is we have to just not fund it. I think that's the first thing that we can do. I think it's essential that we elect people who want to repeal and replace it. So we need to have a real repeal and replace majority in 2010 and 2012. I think that's very important, and I think it's realistic. I think we can do that. I think we have to really, really be concerned right now about the impact that it's going to have on the economy and healthcare. We may end up with a more shattered healthcare system in a few years than we have right now. And I don't think it's shattered right now, but I think it's gonna break with this. It's basic supply-demand economics, and you've just increased demand by 30 million people, and the supply's not there. The cuts in Medicare and Medicaid are going to shut down smaller hospitals. I have a number of small hospitals in our district that are just not going to be able to survive on these cuts in Medicare and Medicaid. They're barely getting by now. That's going to increase demand even further as they go down, and supply is going to become shorter. That causes an increase in cost. Then if you look at the pressure on people's incomes, we're going to lose jobs over this. I've talked to another number of small and mid-sized businesses that have said, you know what, that golden number of 50, they're going to start cutting employees so they go under 50, or they're going to stay under 50. And I talked to one company, they're a mid-sized company, it was going to cost them $500,000 a year to comply. Said they're going to either be cutting salaries, cutting employees, or they'll be, and maybe a combination of the two, and increasing their invoice price to customers. So it's going to cost us more. And don't doubt for 1 minute, a company at Caterpillar up in Illinois that's going to cost them $100 million to comply, they've got 60 facilities around the world. Does anybody think for half a second they just won't move that manufacturing out of Illinois into one of their other plants to avoid that cost? That's going to happen. And so as people start losing jobs and people start feeling the negative effects and the ramifications of this horrible legislation, it's going to become very, very clear that this was a very, very bad idea. And the way that, I mean, the student loans, the way they tie it into the student loans as public education and private education, as these universities start having restrictions put on what they can do to offer, student aid to students because of, the federal government wanting to influence curriculum or influencing their agenda on some of these universities, that's going to be a huge problem too. But we always know, because it happens in the states with these unfunded mandates, you see it with the U.S. Department of Education. When the federal government has control, they will use financial means to get what they want. And that's really what we're talking about, this healthcare legislation. It's a way to control the people.
Now, what would you do to stimulate, last question, what would you do to stimulate the economy?
Stimulate the economy. Lower taxes, number one. We got to lower taxes. If we move to the fair tax, people would have more money in their pockets every month to spend. If we move to the fair tax, we could become the largest tax haven in the world overnight, the safest tax haven. So you have estimated $12 to $14 trillion that would flow back into the American economy overnight with the fair tax. That's huge, and that's only assuming American investment. There'd be other countries that would want to invest here also. Our products that are built here in the U.S. would become 22% cheaper overnight with the embedded tax costs removed. So you'd have more competitive products on world markets. The black market that doesn't pay any taxes right now. Now you have a huge tax base in the illegal immigrants, drug dealers, prostitutes, all these people that don't pay tax right now become part of the tax base. Truly would revolutionize our tax system. It would be fair, it would be simple, and it would stimulate our economy more than any other thing. We need to take and reduce the regulations. What the EPA is doing, what the FCC does, the FTC, the USDA, all of these different agencies that are regulating the heck out of our countries are making us uncompetitive around the world. And if we want to stay competitive, we've got to remove those regulations. I do business overseas. I speak Mandarin Chinese. That's my business, and I've seen firsthand why jobs get moved overseas, and it's through overregulation. And any of these ideas of the Obama administration, somehow if they start putting protection tariffs on if they start putting tariffs on Chinese goods or other goods around the country, not going to work. If they start penalizing U.S. companies for going overseas, it's not going to work. They're just going to set up their operations in another country so they don't have to be subject to those penalties. So stimulate the economy, replace our income tax code with fair tax, and reduce regulation. We do those two things, we'll see a boon to our economy.
Okay, and last thing,
yeah.
How can people find out more about you, and where can they make donations, and how can they go about
Joe
that?
Tegerdine, and it's very easy if you go visit our website. It's just JoeTegerdine.com, JoeTegerdine.com, and you can, we got our phone number on there, emails, you can ask me questions, you can give me a call, you can donate to the campaign fair, you can volunteer, but basically anything you want to know, you can get through the website and join Facebook and become one of our Facebook team members too.
Thank you.
Thanks.